In the last 7 years described in the book of Revelation, the world transforms in unimaginable ways. Imagine a society plunged into chaos where hopes are challenged at every turn. People, in search of answers, find themselves divided between faith and despair. Have you ever stopped to think about what it would be like to live in such an intense time, where every choice can have eternal consequences? Scenes of struggle and resistance unfold, while enigmatic figures emerge, bringing messages that echo through generations. What would lead someone to follow a path of faith amid uncertainty? And those who stray from the light, what awaits them? The truth is that, during these final years, humanity will face trials that will test not only strength, but the essence of what it means to believe. Imagine the tension in the air, the search for purpose amid the turmoil. Every decision becomes crucial, and hope may seem distant. And you, how would you react in such a visceral reality? Each one will have to choose their path, and the consequences will be profound. Get ready for a journey that challenges comprehension and reveals the power of faith in times of tribulation. Social and behavioral changes. When we talk about social changes in apocalyptic times, it's interesting to observe how society transforms almost instantly in response to calamities. The loss of moral values becomes a common phenomenon, where what was once considered ethical or acceptable can quickly be set aside. People, in their quest for survival, often adopt behaviors that would have been unimaginable before. Individualism prevails, and the solidarity that once united communities can fade, giving way to selfishness and distrust. Despair spreads like a virus, infecting even the most optimistic. Narratives of a better future become scarce, and many begin to believe that the present is all they have. This sense of powerlessness can lead to self-destructive behaviors, such as increased substance abuse, violence, and even suicide. Thus, society lives in a constant state of alert, where every day is a struggle for survival. The transformation of interpersonal relationships is another aspect worth highlighting. Friendships that were once built on trust and respect can become fragile under the pressure of crises. Often, the need for survival causes people to distance themselves from their social circles. The fear of being betrayed or becoming a burden to others sets in, and the human connection that sustains us becomes compromised. On the other hand, we can see the emergence of new bonds and communities formed around common interests. Groups that were once mere acquaintances become true support families, where the collective becomes more important than the individual. In this new context, human resilience manifests in the ability to adjust and reinvent oneself. What was once a superficial friendship can transform into a strong bond in times of need. Therefore, social and behavioral changes in response to apocalyptic events are not linear. They oscillate between the worst and the best of human nature, leading society to an inflection point where values are tested and new forms of interaction are created. What some may consider a catastrophe can become an opportunity for rebirth for others. Impact of natural disasters. Natural disasters, such as plagues and calamities, have a profound impact on people's daily lives. Routine is abruptly interrupted, and priorities change. What was once considered trivial, like going to the market or meeting friends, can become a luxury amid chaos. People are forced to adjust their expectations and redirect their energies to survival issues, resulting in a drastic change in social dynamics. Family ties are tested under the pressure of circumstances. In times of crisis, many come together for safety, while others may distance themselves, whether out of fear or despair. It is common that, after a catastrophe, conflicts increase. The scarcity of resources can lead to fierce disputes, and competition for food and shelter becomes intense. Thus, social interactions become both a battlefield and a space for cooperation. Moreover, communication between people changes significantly. Traditional channels, such as phone calls and social networks, may fail or be cut off, leading to physical and emotional isolation. People are forced to find new ways to connect, often through simple gestures, like offering help to a neighbor or sharing scarce resources. This new form of interaction can create a sense of community that did not exist before, although it is permeated by distrust and fear. The emotional impact of disasters cannot be ignored. Collective trauma sets in, and memories of loss and destruction become an indelible part of the community's identity. Survivors often deal with a sense of helplessness and despair, which can lead to an increase in mental illnesses, such as anxiety and depression. Resilience is tested not only physically, but also emotionally, as people try to rebuild their lives. Therefore, natural disasters affect not only physical infrastructure, but also deeply alter social and emotional relationships. They reveal both the best and worst in humanity, and in many cases, force people to reassess their priorities and seek new meanings in a transformed world. Religion and spirituality. In times of crisis, the role of religious beliefs becomes even more evident. For many, spirituality transforms into a refuge, a safe space where they can seek comfort and hope. Movements of faith and sects can emerge as responses to despair, offering promises of salvation and a sense of purpose amid the confusion. People flock in search of answers that reality cannot provide, and religion becomes an anchor in a sea of uncertainties. However, this search for meaning can lead to divisions, with different religious groups vying for the loyalty of those who feel lost. In an apocalyptic scenario, faith can both unite and divide. The sects that emerge may preach extreme ideologies, leading their followers to actions that challenge ethical and social norms. Thus, religion, which should be a pillar of support, can also become a source of conflict. The spiritual experience in times of crisis is profoundly personal and varies from individual to individual. Some find solace in the traditions and rituals they've always followed, while others may turn to new beliefs or spiritual practices. This shift in perspective can result in a reassessment of values, leading to personal growth and a redefinition of what it means to have faith. Religion's role also extends to community action. Many religious institutions quickly mobilize to help those in need, offering shelter, food, and emotional support. This solidarity is a way of manifesting faith in action, showing that even in times of despair, communities can unite around common values. However, not all religious organizations have this altruistic approach. Some may exploit people's vulnerability in pursuit of power or control. Finally, the relationship between religion and spirituality in apocalyptic times is complex and multifaceted. It reflects the human struggle for meaning and connection in a chaotic world, where the search for answers can lead to unexpected paths. How people deal with their faith can shape not only their lives, but also the future of the communities in which they live. Governance and authority. In apocalyptic times, political structure and governance undergo drastic transformations. Governments that were once seen as pillars of stability can quickly crumble under the pressure of constant crises. It's curious how trust in institutions can evaporate in the blink of an eye, leaving a vacuum that is often filled by authoritarian leaders. These leaders, who often rise amidst chaos, promise the security and order that the desperate population so craves. However, this quest for stability can come at the cost of freedom, paving the way for oppressive regimes that use force to maintain control. The fragmentation of nations also becomes a palpable reality. In a scenario where resources are scarce and borders are more contested than ever, the idea of a nation may begin to seem outdated. Regional or even tribal groups may unite, creating new microstates that operate on the margins of traditional laws. This new political configuration can result in intense power struggles, where alliances are formed and broken in the blink of an eye. Thus, the geopolitical landscape becomes a battlefield, not only between countries, but between different factions vying for survival. The impact on social order is profound. Mutual trust, which once sustained civil relations, becomes fragile. People, seeing their neighbors as potential enemies, begin to close themselves off in their bubbles. Collaboration, once seen as fundamental to community well-being, is replaced by a every man for himself mentality. This can lead to a disintegration of the social fabric, where solidarity is replaced by distrust and selfishness. Instead of coming together to face challenges, citizens find themselves in a constant struggle for their own survival. Moreover, the rise of authoritarian leaders can be seen as a reflection of collective anxieties. These charismatic figures, who promise a quick solution to problems, often manipulate fear and uncertainty to consolidate their power. Populist discourse can become the norm, with promises to restore greatness or protect what is ours, often resulting in policies that further marginalize vulnerable groups. In this way, governance transforms into a game of power, where ethics and justice are often set aside in favor of darker objectives. Finally, governance in times of crisis reveals the fragility of social structures that we once considered unshakable. What remains of democratic order transforms into a maze of conflicting interests, where morality is often sacrificed in the name of security. Thus, the population, which once placed its trust in institutions, finds itself trapped in a cycle of disillusionment and despair, struggling to find a new path amidst the chaos that has set in. Technology and communication. Technology, which has always been an ally in disseminating information, assumes an even more complex role in times of crisis. In an apocalyptic scenario, digital platforms become battlegrounds where truth and lies intertwine in a dangerous dance. With the scarcity of resources and the fight for survival, the manipulation of information becomes a powerful tool in the hands of leaders and groups with dark intentions. What was once a simple social media post can transform into a manifesto that shapes opinions and directs actions. Moreover, digital communication, which could serve to unite people, often ends up creating even greater divisions. Filter bubbles, where individuals surround themselves with information that confirms their beliefs, become more evident. In this environment, empathy and dialogue are replaced by polarizing rhetoric, which intensifies social conflict. Social networks, instead of promoting solidarity, can become stages for hostility, where misinformation and hate speech proliferate. On the other hand, technology also proves vital for survival. In times of absolute crisis, digital platforms allow people to connect, share resources, and vital information. Virtual support groups emerge, offering a network of solidarity that can be crucial in moments of despair. This duality of technology, as a tool of oppression and resistance, reflects the complexity of the human condition in the face of the apocalypse. The way information is presented and consumed is also a determining factor. The algorithm that determines what we see in our feeds can favor certain narratives while suppressing others. This raises ethical questions about the responsibility of technology companies in times of crisis. As truth becomes a malleable concept, ethics in communication becomes an increasingly pertinent topic. Information manipulation is not just a political strategy, but a challenge that can shape social reality. Finally, reflecting on technology and communication in times of crisis leads us to consider how humanity connects in a disintegrating world. Interactions that were once face-to-face now become mediated by screens, and true human connection can be lost amid bytes and pixels. The challenge, therefore, is to find a balance between leveraging the advantages of technology and not allowing it to become a barrier that distances us from each other at a time when unity is more necessary than ever. Economy and resources. The economy in apocalyptic times faces a collapse that redefines daily life. The scarcity of resources, an undeniable reality, transforms market dynamics. What was once considered abundant, like food and water, becomes a luxury item, and the struggle for survival becomes the top priority. People, confronted with hunger and lack, are driven to act in ways they might never have imagined. Morality can be tested as necessity becomes imperative. Hunger, a direct side effect of economic disintegration, generates a profound psychological impact. Food insecurity affects not only the body, but also the mind. Families that were once stable now find themselves in extreme difficulties, and the pressure to obtain food can lead to increased crime and unethical behaviors. What was a cohesive society turns into a battlefield where solidarity gives way to selfishness, and human relationships deteriorate under the weight of necessity. The informal economy, in turn, may emerge as a response to the crisis. With the collapse of companies and the scarcity of formal jobs, people are forced to seek alternatives to ensure their survival. Bartering and even illegal activities become common, creating new dynamics of social interaction. This underground economy, while offering a temporary solution, brings risks and uncertainties that can further increase social tension. The financial collapse also highlights the fragility of the global economic system. Nations that were once interdependent may turn inward, seeking to protect their own interests at the expense of collective well-being. This economic fragmentation can result in conflicts between countries as disputes over scarce resources intensify. International relations, once mediated by treaties and agreements, become arenas of rivalry and mistrust. Finally, the impact of the economic crisis on social relations is profound and often devastating. The struggle for survival can break family and community bonds, and distrust becomes the norm. What remains is a society marked by fear and uncertainty, where human interactions are mediated by a constant desire for protection and control. The economy, which should serve as a support pillar, becomes a battlefield, reflecting the fragilities and resilience of the human condition in times of crisis. Mental health and resilience. In apocalyptic times, people's mental health becomes a central issue. Constant stress, uncertainty, and the loss of loved ones can lead to increased rates of depression and anxiety. People, once so confident in their routines, now find themselves struggling against a sense of helplessness, as if they were adrift in a stormy sea. It is in this scenario that resilience becomes a beacon of light. Many discover that despite the difficulties, they possess an incredible capacity to adapt and find new ways to cope with pain and suffering. The search for emotional support becomes more essential than ever. Support groups emerge, allowing individuals to share their experiences and feelings. This exchange not only provides a safe space for emotional expression, but also helps build solidarity bonds. Collective resilience strengthens as people realize they are not alone in their struggles. Empathy becomes a valuable resource, allowing communities to unite around a common goal: survival and recovery. On the other hand, the stigmatization of mental health may resurface in times of crisis. Unfortunately, many still see seeking psychological help as a sign of weakness. This can lead to a vicious cycle where those who most need support isolate themselves even more. The lack of adequate resources for mental health treatment also becomes a challenge. Overwhelmed and underfunded hospitals and clinics struggle to meet the growing demand, leaving many without the necessary support. However, creativity can be a powerful ally in the fight for mental health. Many people find comfort in forms of art, such as painting, music, and writing. These artistic expressions become outlets, allowing deep emotions to be channeled productively. Resilience, therefore, is not just about enduring pain, but also about finding beauty and meaning amid chaos. Continuous learning about mental health and resilience becomes essential. As society faces new challenges, understanding how to care for the mind and spirit becomes a priority. Traumatic experiences, while painful, can generate a new sense of purpose and strength, proving that the human capacity to rise again is truly extraordinary. Ethics and morality in times of crisis. When circumstances become extreme, ethical and moral norms face severe tests. In survival situations, people often find themselves forced to make difficult choices that may contradict their fundamental values. What once seemed non-negotiable, like honesty and solidarity, can be questioned when survival is at stake. This moral dilemma generates heated debates and deep reflections on what it means to be human in times of crisis. The emergence of chaotic situations can lead to the rise of new codes of conduct. What was considered acceptable in a stable society can radically change when each day brings new threats. People may justify actions that were once unthinkable, such as theft or betrayal, in the name of protecting their loved ones. This moral flexibility can be seen as a necessary adaptation, but also raises questions about integrity and the essence of being human. Moreover, the concept of justice can be reevaluated in times of despair. Those in positions of power may exploit the situation for their own benefit, promoting a distorted morality that prioritizes survival at any cost. The struggle for scarce resources can turn into a war of all against all, where ethics dissolve in favor of self-preservation. In this context, leaders emerge who promise order and security, but may end up becoming tyrants. And we must not forget the importance of compassion amid despair. Even when morality is challenged, many still find ways to act with kindness and altruism. Solidarity becomes a beacon of hope, demonstrating that even in the worst circumstances, humanity can prevail. Small acts of generosity can have a significant impact, reminding everyone that human connection is a powerful force. Reflecting on ethics and morality in times of crisis reminds us that even in the face of chaos, it is possible to preserve human dignity. The struggle to find a balance between survival and ethical principles teaches us that true strength lies in the ability to act with empathy and understanding, even when the world around us seems to have collapsed. As we reflect on these last 7 years from the Book of Revelation, we are invited to imagine the intensity and transformation the world might face. The Bible presents us with scenarios of great tribulation and unprecedented challenges, but also of hope and renewal. Have you ever stopped to think about what daily life will be like during this period? How will people react to the signs of the times and the drastic changes around them? The truth is that even amid chaos, there will be those who rise in faith, seeking truth and light amid darkness. What would you do in such a situation? Would you trust in God or be led by fear? These questions are not only provocative, but essential for our spiritual journey. Now, imagine how you can prepare for these times. What truths can you incorporate into your life today that will strengthen you for the future? At the end of this video, we want you to feel inspired to live with purpose and faith, regardless of the circumstances. Share your reflections in the comments and continue this conversation with us. After all, each of us has a fundamental role in the story God is writing. Let's go together.